Hello, viewers and subscribers. Welcome to Blackford's Art of Learning. In today's 8th grade lesson, we will be focusing on analyzing modern fiction. This is part 2 of our lesson. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So welcome to middle school. And let us continue with our learning pathway. Today's quote is, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts," by Winston Churchill. All right. So here's our standard that we worked on in our previous lesson. Analyze how a modern work of fiction draws on themes, patterns of events or characters, or character types from myths, traditional stories, or religious work, including describing how the material is rendered new. All right, so here are some elements of fiction, setting, of historical fiction: setting, description, conflicts, characters, plot, and author's purpose. Here are other elements of fiction that we can look at. The plot. The plot refers to the events that take place in the story. Most events in a fictional story follow the story mountain. The setting is where the story takes place. It helps the reader picture where the characters live and the location of the events. Characters, the characters are the people in the story. There's usually a good character and a bad character in each story. We call them the protagonist, which is the good character, and the antagonist, which is the evil character that's fighting against the good character. We look at conflict. All good fictional stories have conflict. Usually it is a problem between two of the characters. Elements of fiction also include theme. The theme is the overreaching message or overarching message or lesson the author is trying to teach the characters and the reader. It is usually a big idea. Okay, boys and girls. So we're going to look at historical fiction.
Whoa! Whoa! Was that Paul Revere? Oh, wow, Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. It looks like I've landed in the middle of the revolution and straight into historical fiction. This is great. What is historical fiction? Well, the authorities don't really agree on this one. Some say historical fiction is fiction written during the present about people, places, and events of the past. Others say that historical fiction could also have been written as contemporary fiction during a time that's now considered the past. Either way, historical fiction is about the struggles, conflicts, emotions, and day-to-day life of people who lived before us. You may be wondering, how long ago is history? For all practical purposes, the past is considered history if it occurred at least one generation ago. It's important not to confuse historical fiction with biographies, which allow readers to experience the life of a single individual. It's the Liberty Bell! Sure, you can learn a lot about history from textbooks and other non-fiction sources, but historical fiction gives you more than just the facts and statistics. Readers get personal, first-hand accounts of exciting moments in history. They experience all the sights and sounds of events through the eyes of the author. Whoops. Authors of historical fiction create authentic settings by carefully including details in everyday life. Homes, methods of transportation, clothing, and even food must be accurate for the time period. While reading historical fiction, you may find yourself helping to construct the Great Wall of China, or rowing a boat across the Delaware with the first president of the United States. The most interesting characters found in historical fiction are well-rounded, complete with virtues, faults, noble motives, and inner struggles. You may read about people who really lived, fictional characters created by the author, or a combination of the two. For example, the novel Ashes follows a fictional character, Gabby, and her family living in Nazi Germany during the 1930s. The book features 19 historical figures, including Albert Einstein. The plots in historical fiction often address the social problems or controversial issues of the time, such as women's rights or slavery. In Bicycle Madness, a young woman speaks out for women's rights in the 19th century while learning how to ride a bicycle. Chains and Day of Tears address the issue of slavery in the late 1700s. It's important that authors write plots that explore every side of these issues, allowing the reader to experience an unbiased story on sensitive, controversial, or even painful topics. There are several themes that are common in historical fiction. For example, readers can learn about the clash of cultures in stories such as Worlds Apart, in which an unlikely friendship develops between a Native American boy and a young colonist arriving in South Carolina during the 1600s. Another theme in historical fiction is the human cost of war. Private Peaceful is the story of two brothers who enlist in the army and soon learn the terrors of World War I. A third theme in historical fiction is the quest for freedom, as seen in North to Freedom, which follows a 12-year-old boy through his escape from an Eastern European prison camp during World War II. Overcoming hardships is another common theme. One example, The Door in the Wall, is about a child in medieval England who's taught to overcome his illness through strong will and hard work. Readers of historical fiction should keep an eye out for anachronisms. That's just another word for inconsistencies that occur when authors misplace details in the wrong time period. Anybody need a pen? Anybody? You, buddy. Wait a minute. Ah, that's better. Historical fiction can really make you wonder, how much of this is true? Some stories are so convincing, readers wonder which events actually happened and what characters really existed. Authors often explain what's fact and what's fiction by including an author's note. Make sure to read it so you'll know for sure. Well, it's been a big day in historical fiction. Visit your local library or bookstore and check out the fiction section for more stories from history. Later, fellas!
All right, boys and girls. Now it's time for you to share what you have learned from this video. All right, we're going to now learn more about our topic, analyzing modern fiction. And we're going to read the story, The Labyrinth. And we're going to compare that story to Of Monsters and Mazes. So in your iReady book, you can turn to page 222. And I'm going to select somebody to read from my cup of fudge sticks. I'm going to select a fudge stick. And today I'm going to ask Rachel to read. Read the two stories that follow. Use the study buddies and close readings to guide your reading. The Labyrinth by Emily Fowles. So as I read this myth, I'll think about what kind of character type Theseus, Ariadne, and the Minotaur are. You should underline any details that help show their characteristics. So long ago in ancient Greece, the great king Minos of Crete built a giant maze called a labyrinth. Inside this complex pathway, he imprisoned a ferocious minotaur, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. As revenge for his son's death in Athens, every year Minos made the king of Athens choose 7 Athenian men and 7 women to be locked in the labyrinth and sacrificed to the horrific Minotaur. So some stories have more than one theme. What messages are in this myth? Circle 2 details that help you figure out the themes of the labyrinth. Okay. During the 3rd year, a brave warrior named Theseus, son of the king of Athens, volunteered to be among the men chosen to face the Minotaur. He wished to defeat the creature and end his kingdom's sacrifices, no matter the risk to himself. Okay, so we can circle this detail because he wanted to defeat he wanted to conquer or defeat the creature. So he was determined. Okay. So when Theseus arrived in Crete, he told King Minos of his intention to kill the Minotaur, but Minos didn't believe Theseus would succeed. What the king did not know, however, was that his daughter Ariadne had fallen in love with the Athenian hero, unable to bear the thought of losing him to the endless maze. Ariadne provided Theseus with a ball of string. She then instructed him to unwind it as he journeyed through the labyrinth so that he could find his way back to her. Heeding Ariadne's advice, Theseus ventured into the labyrinth alone, leaving a trail of string behind him. The maze was a sprawling puzzle, and Theseus struggled to find his way through its twists and turns. Whenever he advanced down the wrong path, he used the string to help him retrace his steps. The sound of the Minotaur's roaring in the distance frightened him, but he kept the image of Ariadne in his mind and sealed his resolve. At last, Theseus entered the heart of the labyrinth where the Minotaur was waiting for him. Man and beast engaged in a long, fierce battle until Theseus finally swung his sword one last time and slew the Minotaur, ending his people's terror once and for all. Then, using the string as a guide, Theseus made his way back through the labyrinth's dark, twisting depths to Ariadne's welcoming arm. Okay. So it says highlight circle 2 details that help you figure out the theme of the labyrinth. So I already circled one. So let's do another. So probably this part, the sound. So the sound of the Minotaur roaring in the distance frightened him, but he kept the image of Ariadne in his mind, right? And he kept going to accomplish his task. All right, so we said, what are the main plot points in this myth? Put a star next to the sentences that tell the most important events. We're going to put a star. So this part could be starred. Ariadne provided Theseus with a ball of string. That was important. Theseus ventured into the labyrinth, leaving a trail of string behind him. Okay. Let's see if we miss any here. So Theseus, the son of the king of Athens, volunteered to become the men chosen to face the Minotaur. So that's important. Also, the man and beast engage in a long, fierce battle. Okay. Let's move on to the next story of Monsters and Mazes. Wow. Thea stared at the maze of hallways with wide eyes as a congested flow of students passed by her on each side. She had never before set foot in a school this huge, but her family's move across the state had left her with no choice. Her dad had landed an amazing job opportunity, so she had agreed to sacrifice all her old friends and everything she loved for the good of her family. Even though Thea knew she was doing the right thing, however, it didn't stop her from feeling frightened and overwhelmed. So it says, I know that this story is a modern version of the Theseus myth. As I read, I'll underline any characters that are similar to those in the Greek myth. Okay. All right. Thea glanced down at the school map she held in her hands. Her boyfriend Aaron had emailed it to her last night. He had said that he found it online and hoped it would make her journey to this confusing new place a little easier. Thea sighed. All she wanted was to spend time with Aaron right now, but he was hundreds of miles away and she was stuck in a labyrinth of orange lockers. And now she had less than 5 minutes to find her way to her first period biology class, where the dreaded Mrs. Minerva awaited her. The student aide in the front office had given Thea a warning about the teacher when she had picked up her class schedule. The word monster had been mentioned. Okay. Thea navigated through the endless hallways using the map to guide her. Each one looked the same, rows of lockers and doors that were carbon copies of each other. Even with the map, she found herself making wrong turns and having to retrace her steps. The bell rang and Thea groaned, anticipating the battle that would inevitably occur when she walked into class late. When she reached room 201, Thea gathered her courage and prepared to face the teacher's wrath. But as she opened the door, a smiling face greeted her. You must be Thea, Mrs. Minerva said. I'm so glad you didn't get totally lost. This school is a maze. In shock, Thea sat down at an empty desk. Some monster, she thought, realizing the aide had just been messing with the new kid. Thea couldn't wait for the day to end so she could tell Aaron about her epic battle and how she heroically conquered her fear. But first, she'd have to use the map to find the exit. So it says, think about the theme you identified in the previous story. Circle any details in this story that suggest similar messages. All right. So we could highlight this part. When she reached, she gathered her courage. Okay. And then let's do, she had agreed to sacrifice all her friends for the good of her family. Right, let's now go ahead and answer the questions. Use the hints on this page to help you answer the question. What aspects of Theseus and the Minotaur myth has the author of Monsters and Mazes drawn from to tell Thea's story? So, A, she puts Thea in a situation in which she must use a ball of string to help her escape. So A is incorrectly stated. Okay. It incorrectly states that Thea must use a ball of string. Let's look at B. She implies that Thea's father and King Minos have similar motives. So choice B is also incorrect. The story doesn't highlight a parallel between the father and the king. Let's look at C. She updates Theseus as Thea, Ariadne as Aaron, the Minotaur as Mrs. Minerva, and the Labyrinth as the new school. Right, so this definitely looks like the author updated the characters by putting them in similar positions or similar situations and giving them similar characteristics. So this look like it could work, but let's look at D. She portrays Ariadne as Aaron and has Aaron defy his father in order to help Thea find her way through the labyrinth. So D is incorrect. Choice D incorrectly states that Aaron defies his father. That did not happen. So C is our most suitable answer. What shared theme is suggested by Theseus's and Thea's situations? What's the theme in the story? All right, so A, it is important to ask for help when you are in difficult position. So is that one correct? That one is incorrect because they did not ask for help. Okay, so let's cross that one out. Let's look at B. True courage involves facing your fears and making sacrifices. So we can recall that Thea and Theseus, they found the courage to face their fears. So this sounds like something. And we also mentioned courage and bravery as theme while we were reading the first account of the story. C, so let's leave B and come back to it. C, disobeying your parents can get you in a lot of serious trouble. Is C correct? So that's also incorrect because they did not disobey their parents. So let's cross this one out. And D, you should not always believe what you hear about someone. So choice D is incorrect. So only the modern version suggests this theme. Only the modern version suggested this theme. So B is our answer. Let us now do our written response. Describe how the plot of Monsters and Mazes reinterprets the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur to tell a new story. Use two details from each story in your response. All right, so we're going to compare the plot in both stories. So both stories plots are similar, as we can see. The heroes, Theseus and Thea, they have to make their way through a maze to find a monster, the Minotaur and Mrs. Minerva. They are given a tool by someone they care about to help keep them from getting lost. Ariadne gives Theseus a ball of string and Aaron gives Thea a map. of Monsters and Mazes is made new in that the monster turns out not to be a monster after all. So let's go ahead and record our response. All right, boys and girls, thank you for all your hard work. And now we're gonna go into our small group lesson. You're going to work on comparing two stories. You're gonna click on the link and you're going to do Promised Land. So you'll be comparing Promised Land to all right, you're going to be comparing Promised Land to the Battle of Jericho from the Bible. Okay. And answer the questions that follow. Then you're going to do News ELA. I'll provide you with a copy Minorities see improvement, demand more diversity on US television, and that is a part of your social studies activity. Then we'll do ReadWorks, how cute it is. How cute is this? You can utilize the audio recording, or you can read the information on your own and answer the questions. Okay, boys and girls, remember the rules of small group. You do not interrupt the teacher while she's with a group. You sit quietly and work on your lesson at hand. And remember, you can utilize this cooperative learning strategy that we used in our previous lesson. Please remember to complete your reflection and feedback. So, viewers and subscribers and everyone, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on the post notification bell. Once again, everyone, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, turn on the post notification bell. Please be on the lookout for other videos. Thank you for watching.